evolving your products over time, innovating, listening to feedback, looking at those customer reviews. Sometimes it's product quality. Sometimes it's the additional features that people want. Sometimes it's minor changes to integrate with another product. Whatever it is, evolve the product. Don't just leave it stagnant and say, well, this is the product and tough, get what you have. You've got to keep making changes if you want to compete in today's marketplace.
Hey everybody, welcome again to the E-Commerce Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Wiltsey, and today we're speaking with the one, the only, Shannon Roddy from Avenue7Media. Shannon consults businesses to successfully launch, grow, and protect their brands on Amazon. He just spoke at Amazon Accelerate for those of you who were there. Today he's going to walk me through, I'm really excited, he's going to walk me through how to prepare to launch your brand, how to lay the foundation for your brand, and how to grow your brand. So this is like an A to Z branding masterclass. Shannon, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Rob, thanks for having me. I have to say there is one other Shannon Roddy. I think she does photography in New York, but I am the only Shannon Roddy at Avenue 7, so I think that's a fair qualification.
One of two. One of two.
One of two.
Not bad. So take us to the top. Well, first of all, maybe for those of you who are listening and maybe aren't familiar with Shannon or Avenue 7, maybe just give us the lowdown there and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I've got an e-commerce background. I started a web design company and also sold on Amazon, started about 12 years ago. And very quickly within that, started servicing brands, selling on Amazon. I actually probably learned more from solving other people's problems than I did working on my own brand, just because from a consultant standpoint, you get so many different questions and people with so many different issues that it really broadens your horizons very, very quickly. And so I think I've heard it stated that way, that when you are in that position of helping people, it's a two-way benefit. You get to help them solve their problem, but with every single client, I always learned something from them as well. And it just aggregated all this knowledge. And the short version is I built that business, I sold the web design company or shut that down, pivoted to marketplace seller courses, which was consulting and coaching and some online courses for brands selling on Amazon. And a year and a half ago on Valentine's Day, joined Avenue7Media. So it was an acquisition, hiring, and I was so blessed to join that team because Amazon had gotten to the point where it was so complex. The complexity was increasing at an increasing speed that I couldn't keep up to date with everything. And you really are in a situation where you need team, technology, and playbooks to execute effectively on Amazon. And that's what we do as a managed service provider. A to Z, your fully outsourced Amazon department. We have 100 plus team members, bring 400 years of Amazon experience to the table, and are building our own technology to help facilitate that.
I love that. That is awesome. Yeah, check them out at Avenue7Media. We'll post a link in the description below. So talk to us about branding. You had mentioned that there's all these brands on Amazon, and they're all kind of at different stages of development. Sure. Some of them maybe are kind of at square one. Some of them might be farther along, but they kind of miss some important stuff at the beginning. Absolutely. So it's really important to kind of understand the life cycle and the growth cycle for a brand. So I'm really excited to hear you walk us through that. So start us kind of at the pre-launch stage. What is that about, and what do brands need to do?
Yeah, you have to be different. You have to be different. You have to have that unique value proposition. People call it your USP, your unique selling proposition, whatever it is. There has to be something, Rob, that differentiates what you offer that's better or different than your competitors. There's got to be a compelling reason to buy from you. And I think that there's a small sliver of sort of entrepreneurs who go, well, this product is selling, I can create my own version and kind of jump on the bandwagon. But the reality is, in today's fierce e-commerce marketplace with 2+ million sellers and over 1 billion products listed on Amazon, you're going to get slaughtered. If you don't have something that's different, there's no reason to buy from you versus somebody else. And you're looking at 100 or 1,000 sellers who are already weeks or months or years ahead of you, right? In terms of ranking and reviews and sales velocity, et cetera. So you've got to have something that truly is unique, that truly is different. That's the first one. The second one, and this I think, Rob, is something that I've seen brands at every stage miss. So even if you go, well, we're way past that launch phase, pay attention because this is for you. You have to be defensible. You have to be defensible. There has to be something not just that differentiates you, but prevents somebody else from copying you. Because as I like to say, there are innovators and there are imitators. And if you are an innovator but you don't have any defensibility, then those imitators are so fast to market now that you can say, well, I've got a little bit of competitive edge on the market. You've got a matter of weeks. If you come out with something that's truly different and truly better, you have a matter of weeks before somebody is on Amazon mimicking or replicating your product. And if you don't have defensibility, there's nothing that you can do to stop them. And they will be able to undercut your price and outmarket you if you don't have a way to defend that differentiation.
So that's where I'm so curious. So how do you become defensible? What do you do to prevent other people from copying you, or at least like buy yourself more runway or whatever?
Yeah, so number one, there's a handful of ways, 3 or 4 ways. I'll mention the top ones. Number one is intellectual property. So a utility patent and design patent. And so having those in place can be incredibly effective to help you be able to defend against other people, because you can basically join Amazon's Apex program and you can see, okay, somebody else has listed their product on Amazon and it is direct ripoff of mine, and I run it through my IP attorney and they say, yep, we order a sample and stuff, you report it to Amazon through Apex and Amazon will take that person down. That's defensible. And so patent protection is really sort of the strongest one. The 2 others are, number one, cost prohibitive manufacturing. So we have a client that says, look, our next product is going to require a $50,000 mold to make. We're not going to have a lot of imitators because nobody's going to want to jump in the pool. It's a little too deep. And so having a high cost of manufacturing or barrier to entry is one. The other one is exclusive sourcing. And so I worked with a company years and years ago called ClickBelts. They were one of the exclusive sellers for the Ostripin click belt. And this belt buckle was the same buckle that was used in Apache helicopters to strap in the pilots. And so they were able to offer this sort of exclusive product as the sole seller of this belt buckle in the US as sort of their authorized representative, that they could differentiate and defend against the Me Too's knockoffs and say, look, these other belt buckles are cheap, they break easily, this is the real deal. If you have to strap in a helicopter pilot into an Apache helicopter, you better believe that those buckles are strong and gonna hold for a long, long time. So that's sort of the second thing. And then the third is, do you have any sort of exclusivity? So maybe you are just an authorized representative of a brand that's maybe UK based or based in Australia or any other country around the world, and say, we got exclusive rights to sell this product, this brand in the United States, and nobody else can sell this product and brand. And so those are some of the ways that provide some defensibility against the Me Too imitation knockoffs and counterfeits that are going to come quickly behind you.
Hey everybody, I'm taking a quick break here to tell you about Video Fresh. So if you are an e-commerce seller that needs some video content made, that is what we do. So my team does amazing work creating these really beautiful looking product videos that are great for Amazon ads, for your product listing pages, for social media, anything you need. We make the process really, really easy. So if you're interested, visit videofresh.co and let me know if you listen to the podcast and what you think. All right, let's get back to the show.
That's really important. And there's so many sellers that we work with as well that are just overrun with copycats, and it's a huge point of stress. And I think building a brand that is defensible, is that part of the pre-launch stage? Are we still in pre-launch? Yeah, so just thinking about.
It is, but to your point, even if you're further along, there are brands who created a product and a brand and go, wow, I'm starting to have all these copycats. The next iteration of my product better be defensible. The next evolution of a product, the next product line that I come out with, it's solidifying in their mind, I need to do this before I go to market, not try to clean it up after, right? And that's kind of the main argument there.
So it's never too late, even if you're, far along in your Amazon journey, you can still, with that next product, you can build it in a defensible way, which is kind of the good news here.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, if there's not enough of a differentiation opportunity, it's going to be challenging. The last piece, and I'd say, and it's not fully defensible in the same way that intellectual property is, but brand awareness provides some moat, where if you have brand awareness and brand equity, which is customers' perceived value of your product and brand, that can provide a little bit of defense, a little moat. Think of the big green egg down here in the South in Georgia. It's like everybody has the big green egg, and they sell whatever the knockoff or imitation one is, at Ace Hardware, or they sell them at Home Depot, and it looks like the big green egg, but it's not green, and it's it's a little different and stuff. The big green egg has that brand equity that even though it's not 100%, they can't stop those copycats. The brand equity comes into play when a customer's looking at both of those and going, you know what, I'm going to go with this company because they're established. I know who they are. I know they're going to be around for a long time. I know that they're going to back their product with the warranty and customer service. I'm going to go with them. And so defensibility from a brand equity and awareness standpoint is more about providing a little bit of a moat as opposed to dropping the hammer.
Well, and in the case of those brands, I'm thinking like Apple with the iPhone, and I'm thinking like, different, Jordan shoes. Like there's some products that it's like, if you see something like it, you're like, oh, that's an iPhone knockoff, or that's an AirPods knockoff.
Right.
Like if you actually do innovate and then you add that brand equity, you achieve brand equity, then it will always be perceived that like, oh, hey, it's a big green egg knockoff, right? Or like it's, instead of like, oh, it's just some other round oval shaped grill,
cooking
right?
device.
Cooking apparatus, exactly. Yeah, so that's a really good point. And
people are always comparing to the original. I think is to your point. They're always comparing to the original, the OG.
The OG, yeah, that's like kind of the gold standard, right? Is it achieving like OG status with your product line? Yes, that is really, really good. So do you have any examples of brands that on Amazon that have really like done a great job with that have like achieved that?
There's so many. I don't want to mention, I won't call out specifics, but because again, sometimes it opens the doors for copycats. But but there is an element of coming in with a premium value proposition and saying, oh, and by the way, we're patented. Nobody can make anything like this for the next 20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
And it provides a pretty big moat and cushion where you don't need as much brand equity and awareness to be able to, keep the knockoffs and the Me Too counterfeits out. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely examples. One example, and this is more on the defensibility side from not cost of manufacturing, but complexity of manufacturing, is a client that their products had multiple pieces that were actually assembled and made at 4 different factories and then had to all be put together.
Wow.
That's incredibly challenging, and it really changes whether or not somebody decides, do I really want to take the time and energy to do that? And usually the answer is no. So there's all these ways that you can build complexity and defensibility into your product in order to reduce the amount. You're always going to have the Me Too's, always. But you need to have something that you can put a stake in the ground and say, this is mine, it belongs to me, and you can't take it.
Yeah, it's sort of thinking about those competitive advantages and like how can you create a high barrier to entry. Any high barrier to entry will help you in defending against other players. That's so interesting. And so, yeah, anything else kind of in the pre-launch stage?
Yeah, the last piece is create demand. So I took time to make all those start with D's. So different, defensible, and demand. I did that with all of them. They don't all start with D. They all start with similar letters, just to make it easy for the audience to remember. Demand really has to do with not only build brand awareness, but also excitement and social proof around your product. And honestly, Rob, what I was thinking of as a great example is like a restaurant. My wife and I, we went to a new restaurant. There's a Mexican restaurant that opened up around the corner. And we went in, it was the first night, like I think it had just opened, maybe the night before. And it was packed. And it made me think back, I'm like, wow, they must have done a good job creating demand ahead of time versus the restaurants that I've seen open. I think we've all kind of walked, oh, there's a new sign coming soon. And you go into that restaurant on the first day or the second day or the first week, and it's crickets. There's one waiter kind of hanging out by the counter. The chefs in the back aren't really doing anything. They didn't create demand. And so one of the common mistakes, probably, in fact, one of the most common mistakes I see brands make is they come up with their product, they get it to market, they put it on the market, and then they try to build demand. And the companies that are most successful do that in reverse. And so Bella Booty is a great example. They created a product called Bella Booty. It's a hip thrust belt, and it's for working out and exercise, and it's simple. It's very easy to use, and it's very safe, and it's versatile. It allows you to do multiple different exercises. But they built up demand on social media, which is one of the cheapest, most effective ways to do it, because you use video targeting your audience. And they had, it would go viral at different points in time. But they built it up on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and a little bit on YouTube. And that demand was so strong that they show up to Amazon and just reap the rewards. It's like you're opening the restaurant doors and you've got a flood of people. You're taking reservations from day one. You've got a line around the corner. And that is a very big mental shift that I think a lot of, especially younger brand owners, face. They forget to create demand first so that you're entering, and on day one, when you open the restaurant, you're ready to go.
And that's so important even for like the honeymoon period, right? Because then you're just like dominating those early days on the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's phase one. That is preparing for launch. And like I said, if you haven't done some of those critical steps, go back and look at ways that you can incorporate those, or as you iterate your products or come out with new versions, build that into your plan. Make that part of your master plan, that you're doing that for every product that you're creating.
That is so smart. That made me think about the Cybertruck. I don't know if you put $100 down for that or not, but or 1,000, whatever it was. I forget what it was. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Are those things out yet? I think maybe they're out now.
I haven't seen any. In Georgia.
I heard they might have started rolling the first ones out. But I mean, that was like the ultimate example of just years and years of hype behind a product that still hasn't come out and is still very much people have not completely forgotten about it yet either. So yeah. That's so smart. Yeah, because then you are spending time ahead of time building that momentum up, so that, because it's expensive to get your product launched and then to put the resources behind it, whether it's advertising resources. You don't have to start from zero momentum at that point. I think building that momentum is really smart ahead of time. Wow, so much value on this episode today. I can't even.
And that was just phase one.
We're only on phase one, baby.
We got two more.
Crazy. Yeah. Hit us with phase two, laying the foundation.
So laying the foundation, we'll get a little technical for a minute, but it's a side detour that's important. You need to map out your logistics, right? And I know people think logistics, 3PL, okay, yeah, you got to have that. But honestly, the three biggest pieces that I see, Rob, where people sort of mess up or forget or kind of leave as second hand and are actually very, very important, is number one, licensing GS1 UPC codes, right? It provides traceability and accountability for the ownership of the product on Amazon. It allows you to guarantee detail page control, and it really tracks that you are the owner of this product. And buying reseller UPC codes, doing UPC exemption can lead to all kind of logistical nightmares down the road. So let's just forego all that and just license GS1 UPC codes, get them assigned correctly. Your case packs, they've got great support teams. It's insanely cost effective. You can buy a single G10 now. It's like, I have one product, great. License a single G10, get it from GS1. That's really critical step, because then that GS1 sticker can go on your product, and it makes everything else so much easier. The second thing along with that is SKU naming convention. Probably didn't think we were going to go there, but honestly, if you don't have a way to name your SKUs that are easily identifiable by your own team, by your 3PL, by your service providers, and even not necessarily by your customers, but anybody who touches or engages with your product, your life is going to be so much simpler. So when you start with, this is product 001 and this is product 002, it makes it really difficult to have any understanding if I'm looking at a SKU and I'm going, what the heck is this? I have no idea what the product is. Creating a SKU naming convention that is scalable, that is manageable, is so beneficial. And just a little side tip, the last digit of a UPC code is called your checksum digit. So dropping that off, that just checks to make sure that the UPC code is correct. Dropping that off, the last 3 digits before the checksum digit, if you incorporate those into your SKUs, now you have an ability to always correlate a SKU with the UPC code. I can't tell you how challenging and frustrating it is to go, here's the SKU, what's the correct UPC code for that? And you got to go look up this, Excel spreadsheet, you got to have a lookup database and stuff. You can skip all that by identifying the product line, the color, the flavor, and add those last 3 digits minus the checksum digit from the UPC code into your SKU. Your life, the life of your 3PL, your service providers, and everybody else will be infinitely better, and it will reduce all the mistakes and errors of, oops, we just labeled 1,000 products to go into Amazon and we put the wrong label on. It's happened.
Yep.
Avoid that, that nightmare and that mess. Logistics is important. Organize your logistics ahead of time. Even if you're just starting out with a couple of products, it will make your life better.
Wow, that is awesome. So how many sellers do you feel like don't have that set up, or like aren't even thinking that way? They're just like having arbitrary SKU conventions and things like that.
Yeah, a lot definitely have arbitrary SKUs. I mean, I've worked with hundreds. I haven't looked at the SKUs of all of them, but I'd say it's very, very rare. Maybe 10 to 15% are super snapped in, thought it through, and thought with the end in mind, planned with the end in mind of this is going to be the UPC code, and this is going to be the SKU, and this is how we're going to organize this when we have hundreds or thousands of products. And so it's a very small percentage that are actually doing this at a scalable level. And so I think, again, it's not like you have to go back and change everything, but as you iterate, as you grow, as you create new products and new SKUs, start with this in mind, and it's going to make your life a lot easier.
That is awesome. Love how actionable this is. And so is there anything else you have to do to launch? What other things do you see that maybe get missed right at that launch stage or laying the foundation stage?
Yeah. So the second part of laying the foundation is the listing. You have to research and write your listing. That is the landing page. And honestly, this applies if it's your D2C website, if you're Shopify, if you're doing a direct response landing page, or your Amazon product detail page. You've got to have a listing. And that listing has to speak to your customer with messaging and benefits that appeal to them. And the best way to understand what those are, if you have a truly new product, is to go to your social media and look at the messaging of the posts that you did that got the most engagement. What messaging in a video or a post or an image spoke to customers and go, wow, I needed that. That's going to, change my life. And so that's a great way to sort of test and iterate, but you have to come to the table with a well-researched, well-thought-out listing that you're laying the foundation. Most people start with features, and this is an oldie but a goodie. Features tell, benefits sell. You can mention the features, but you gotta mention the benefits, and don't have to mention all of the benefits. In my experience, there's usually 3 to 5 things that a customer really cares about that get them to add to cart. The rest they can learn later when they unbox the product. That's fine. But understanding what your customers really care about, which shows up in the reviews over time, which means you have to re-optimize your listing. It's never an ending process. Will really help you get snapped in so that you're using the messaging, understanding the demographics of your customer, understanding the features and benefits that they care about, and laying that foundation to say, we have solved your problem. Rob, if you buy this product, I will make your life better. I promise. And here's the social proof that backs it up. That's the second key to laying a really solid foundation.
That's so smart. I feel like that's the thing. Of course, we do the video side of that, and that's what we say too. Is like there's way too much you could say about your product that than you ever should say, like in a short ad, right? Like there's probably 20 important features and benefits, and we always, like you said, we never want to say a feature without a benefit. Like, sure, it has this, therefore it does this, it solves this problem. Sure. But yeah, like people don't, if you're throwing too much information at someone, whether it's on your landing page and your A+ content on your videos, it just becomes noise, and then the really important stuff just drowns in the sea of everything else. So yeah, less is more for sure with the messaging, and so I think that's a really great point. And most people, myself included, like I own a business, like I want to say everything. Like a lot of times as business owners, we we are not so in touch with what our customers actually want to know. We're more interested in what we want to say. What do we want to say about the product, and what do we think is so important, and what are we so excited about? And that's what we're going to stuff into the copy. But then it's like, if you actually just, the other thing we like to look at is like, once the product's launched, like customer review phrases. So if you go down to the bottom, it's like, these are the things that your customers are most commonly saying, and those things, they're telling you what they care about. Like, go down there. That's the things they're what are they talking about? What did they say they liked about it? That's probably a really good place to start for what you should be really emphasizing in your copy and in your content, right? So,
Absolutely.
so that's a great one. Yeah. What else?
Apple nailed this one. Again, just to sum up that point, 1,000 songs in your pocket, iPod. That's all you need to say. You don't have to say anything else. That's it. 1,000 songs in your pocket.
Genius.
And I like what Donald Miller, the author of Building Your Brand Story, says. People don't buy the best product. They buy the product they can understand the fastest. And I love that phrase. It's so simple. They buy the product they can understand the fastest. So helping your customers understand your product, the value proposition quickly, is really key for that listing. The third part of that, laying the foundation, is the launch, right? It's sort of the last phase of laying the foundation, launching your product. It's having an event where you're driving traffic. You mentioned the honeymoon phase earlier. Amazon's algorithm has a honeymoon phase because they don't want just incumbent ASINs and sellers to outrank everybody. So if you create a new ASIN on the platform, they say, hey, brand XYZ, new brand, new seller has launched this product. Let's put it up there for a couple of weeks and let's see how it does, because we want to give it a chance too. If we bury it, at the back forever, no one's ever going to see it. We'll never know if this could have been another great product, a great brand. So it's very smart the way they design the algorithm. So leverage that honeymoon phase, drive additional traffic. You can use affiliates, you can use influencers, you can use your email list, you can mention it on social. All of those things, you can run deals. All of those things help drive that initial traffic to generate a really successful launch. Like I said, if you've already done a good job building that demand, all you're doing is leveraging that demand and pointing it to, let's just say Amazon, to really reap the benefits of a really great start. And like I said, if you do all these things in order, you're going to have much greater chance of success. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but you're 1,000 times more likely to succeed if you check the boxes on all these elements.
This is so good. I love this. And so yeah, that honeymoon period, like I said, that's what came to mind earlier, is like what you said in the pre-launch. If you all that like driving momentum early, is you're just going to crush that. You're going to show Amazon this is the hot new product. Look at the demand, look at the sales, look at the traffic, right? And so that's fantastic. All right, so we're launching. It's the product's up.
Yep.
We're in the honeymoon period. So what do we do now?
We're on to phase 3. Now we're about growing the brand. And the first part comes back to something you said earlier, which is pay attention to those product reviews. You have to evolve your product. So all of these are going to start with E's. So we're going to growing your brand, E. So you have to evolve your product. Listen to the feedback. Pay attention. Look at the competitors. What are your competitors doing? They may be offering colors or flavor variations or something that you're not. Pay attention to that. Look at what the trends are. Trends don't stay the same. When a company says, oh, we do it this way because this is the way we have always done it, you can look at your watch and mark the calendar, because that company, that brand, is on their way to closing their doors. It's just the reality. It's the unfortunate reality. Anytime somebody says, well, this is just the way we've always done it. And so evolving your products over time, innovating, listening to feedback, looking at those customer reviews. Sometimes it's product quality.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the additional features that people want. Sometimes it's minor changes to integrate with another product. Whatever it is, evolve the product. Don't just leave it stagnant and say, well, this is the product and tough, get what you have. You've got to keep making changes if you want to compete in today's marketplace.
So what is your advice to brands who are already far down the road? Maybe they're listening to this and they're going, oh my gosh, Shannon's right. I should have done that, but I didn't do that. Right?
Right.
Like, is it too late for them? What's your advice to someone who maybe kind of, maybe it's their first time doing this too, and they're learning, and there's so much to learn. Like you said, things are always changing. Is it too late? What can they go back and do if they miss some of these steps? What do you think?
It's never too late to evolve your product, Rob. And I'm a perfect example and a bad example of this. So I'm going to throw myself on the chopping block as a bad example. I developed a product that I started selling 12 years ago on Amazon. And customers had been asking me in the reviews, in the comment section, buyer seller messaging, hey, it's a little small. Can you make a bigger version? And I just thought, it's too much work. There's complexity. I got to find a new manufacturer. I don't know the cost involved. I got to design a different version. And I was fine until a competitor decided to listen to my customers on my reviews and say, hey, I'm going to come out with a bigger version of your product. And all of a sudden, my sales started to drop. That's a problem. And so it wasn't a direct knockoff. They actually did, some different things, some variations, some iterations. But my product, again, I have a copyright on the product, so you can't copy it, directly. And it's like, okay, it pushed me to do what I've been telling other people to do and what I know I needed to do, which is evolve. And so this fall, we're launching a new version of the product. It's bigger. It's exactly what customers have been asking for. I had people say, can you sell this in Spanish? Do you have a different background? And it's like, okay, yes. The answer is yes, 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 because the demand is there. Customers are asking for it. And so when you start to see those trends, it's just about paying attention to them and taking action. The takeaway is, don't wait for somebody else to force you to do it. Do it first. It's the innovator's dilemma. You come up with a great product and then everybody leapfrogs you. Don't wait for that to happen. Cannibalize your own products if you have to. Come out with the better version, the different version. It's like, look, the iPod came out and then the additional iPod generations cannibalized the early versions. iPhone came out, cannibalized the iPod. Jobs and the Apple team were okay with that because they were continuing to innovate and gain market share along the way. So I would just say always evolve your products, and it's never too late to start. So the second part of growing your brand is you have to enforce. You've got to enforce. We talked about having a defensible product if you have patents and trademarks, but guess what? If you don't enforce them, sellers are going to run amok. If you don't enforce your patent, and let's be clear, I'm not a patent attorney, I'm not a trademark attorney. These are just, high-level insights that I've gained. Go get your own representation. But if you don't defend your patent and your trademark, you can lose the ability to protect that, right? So you have to enforce it. You have to enforce reseller and map agreements. If you don't have them, go get them, go create them. It's important to enforce your brand equity across all channels, especially on Amazon, where so much revenue goes through that channel, through that storefront. So you've got to enforce your trademarks, your patents, reseller map agreements, and you've got to defend your brand. And I know it's a hot topic, so I'm going to just go ahead and push the button. You have to do defensive advertising. We talked about creating all this demand. Well, that's expensive, Rob. That is an investment to build social media following, awareness, people excited about your brand. And the worst thing you can do is allow all of your customers who are looking for your product and brand, go to Amazon and find all of your competitors. Because if they're not looking closely enough, it's possible that they can buy the Apple Jacks knockoff cereal instead of the original, right? We've all seen that. Like, you go to Aldi, and my wife buys it for the kids because it's cheaper, and I'm like, that's not Apple Jacks, right? It's Jappalax or whatever they want to call it, right? You've got to enforce your intellectual property. You've got to defend your brand, and that is a critical aspect to success on Amazon.
Yeah, we love Aldi's, Aldi too, by the way. That's absolutely. So yeah, how does defensive advertising work for those that may not know?
Right, so it's basically if people are searching for your brand name or your branded product name, you are running advertising at a very high cost per click using very specific targeting, so phrase match or exact match targeting for those phrases, and dominating brand ads, sponsored product ads, sponsored brand vending, anything page one, where typically everything above the fold is advertising. So you've got to be able to aggressively defend against that. And I think it's interesting. Some customers or clients say, well, I don't want to do defensive advertising. I just assume that all those people will skip all the way over all those ads of my competitors and just find my products organically. We know defensive advertising works and is a necessity because when our competitors don't do it, we advertise against their brand name and we grab market share, their market share for our clients. And so you've got to aggressively defend your brand. But the way I kind of look at it is, if I said, Rob, what would you say if you could invest in creating a magical group of keywords that had a very low cost per click and a very high conversion rate? If you could invest to create those keywords, would you advertise on them? What would your answer be?
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's your branded keywords. It's the magical group of keywords that have a low, cost per click, high conversion rate. So the best thing you can do is to defensively advertise on them.
So smart. Yeah, absolutely. So the defensive advertising is it's also one of those areas where maybe it's not everybody's doing it, and so you want to be on the side that is doing it, because if you're not, you're going to be on the side that is the victim of it, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
Love that. All right, what else?
Last one.
Okay.
Expand. So we're in the E phase, right? Growing your brand, E. You have to expand your product line. People come up with a great product, and this is the same thing that I did. It's the same playbook, that Jason, followed for years as a top 200 Amazon seller, who's the founder of Avenue7Media, leads our incredible team. You can't coast on a single product forever. You've got to create new products within your core competency. They have to make sense from a manufacturing capability. There should be crossover from your existing customer base and the new product that you're creating, so that you can cross-sell and upsell and say, hey, Rob, you bought this product from me a year ago. Look at what we just created. The product we created a year ago is for infants. This one's for toddlers, right? So that same kid you brought your product for, now that they're 2 or 3, this is the next best thing for you to buy. And so expanding the product line, the Amazon algorithm loves new products. We talked about that new launch. And you can literally go right back to the beginning of this podcast and say, okay, how do I create a differentiated, defensible product and create demand for that? And that's the wash, rinse, repeat. But this is honestly, at the highest level, what every seller, whether you're brand new or super experienced, needs to do. Because, Rob, I've seen both. I have seen brand new sellers who have no differentiation, no brand awareness, no demand, right? They're not expanding, they're not evolving. And I have also seen sellers who've been around for 10, 15, 20 years. I think we talked to a company, I want to say they've been around for like 18, 19 years, and they still have just the same 2 products and product lines that they've had. And they've been coasting on that. And they're not defending, and they're not evolving, and they're not expanding. And as much as they've been able to coast, their market share is holding steadily in a market that is growing rapidly, which means they look at their sales in a silo and go, oh, I'm doing okay, not realizing that every single day, every single week, every single year, they're losing market share, in some cases in a category that they helped create.
Wow. Yeah, you don't want that to happen. Yeah, you're basically losing your piece of the pie, right? That piece of the pie is shrinking all the time.
Absolutely.
Man, so many good actionable takeaways. I'm so glad we had this conversation. Anything else you want to leave our listeners with?
No, look, it's complex today. And, just from my standpoint, I head up sales and development at Avenue7Media, and we are looking for brands who are aligned with this mentality, and what we love doing is helping them launch, grow, protect their brands on Amazon. And so obviously brand owners who are listening to this, sellers who are, again, at any phase and stage, we've got playbooks and an amazing experienced team and technology to help them succeed. So I'm so passionate about brand owners. I'm so passionate about education. Obviously what I do at Avenue 7 is a little bit more on the sales side, but always open for a call with a brand that goes, gosh, that sounds amazing. I don't even know where to start, right? Yeah, but really the last takeaway is, pay attention to your customers, build that brand equity, build that relationship. They will guide you. They will show you where to go. And in some cases, you're going to innovate beyond what they're asking for. And that requires you paying attention to the space outside of your customers. Because sometimes a brand can die along with their customers if their customer base is evolving. But if you follow these playbooks, gosh, like I said, success is almost guaranteed.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for sharing all this. What a fantastic little episode here we had. This is what we love to do on this podcast, is leave people with actions they can take. And man, there's people could be working on this for many months because there's just a lot here. So thank you so much, and best of luck to you at Avenue7Media. And I can't wait to have you on again and hear how things are going. So
awesome. My pleasure, Rob. Thanks for having me.